All right, all right. All right, so Shalom, first and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, and I want to say Shalom, Chalk and Aquat out there, pursuing this truth diligently, coming at you once again with another lesson. And I mentioned this one last night, during the judgment report that I happened to make last night. Or earlier this morning, really, if you really want to get down to it, because I did it like two. I think it like ended at like 2 a.m., but I started it earlier, around like 1, or it might have ended around 1, but I started it at midnight. Can't remember. But I mentioned a little bit about it, and it's from a sticky note I put together the lesson at work, so I had it on a sticky note because we might have had a higher up drop by, so I don't want to be caught on the phone. So I just said I'll just put together the lesson on a sticky note and shove it in my pocket. So the title of it, Lord willing, is America's Dirty Laundry is Out in the Street. Okay, America's Dirty Laundry is out in the street. And like I said, I mentioned a little bit about it yesterday, and about how this society it's not the same America that it was for a long time, and I mentioned it last night. America's circling the drain, as George Carlin said, and you hear the apostles constantly mention it. And I mentioned I like that because I grew up on George Carlin, so I'm familiar with a lot of his, I don't know if you'd want to call them anecdotes, or, I wouldn't really call them jokes because they're not really jokes. He can say things in truth that are in a humorous way, but it is, at the end of the day, truth. As America has been circling the drain, it's been undergoing fundamental changes, and the way America is in its current standing is different than it's really ever been. Okay, and we're starting to see, Edomites getting made fun of. We're starting to see Edomites, go out and they've always had the so-called, what they like to say, wiggers. Right, they just put a white, the W on it, all right, but they're really just calling them, white, put 2 and 2 together, right, which is just trying to call them by the byword that they call our people, or at least one group of our people, and you got these so-called white kids now, primarily the the little white boys, and they're Edomites, all right, that are getting perms, all right, to go and look like mixed kids. All right, you got little white kids hanging around Issachar that are going and getting the Edgar cut, all right, because they want to look like little Mexicans, so-called. And meanwhile, all the white kids are trying to get with black girls, all right. You got or they're trying to get with Latina girls, all right. And white girls aren't really the commodity anymore. They still get with them, but everybody wants fat titties and a fat ass, which is not the body style, all right, of the white woman. All right, and it's been like that for years. So the white woman has adapted. You have a lot of white women that are going to the gym now, and they're doing, working on glutes, overboard, right, doing squats and anything to try to build an ass. And it's just all this is really showing you how, man, like Esau society is just really falling apart. It's not the same America anymore. And all of America's dirty laundry's out in the street. Everybody knows America is, founded upon racism. All right, how it's, not for its people. It hates its people. It's not giving health care. It doesn't care if you live or die. And it's not this ideology of patriotism has really just been dead and buried, man. And it's to the point where everybody knows, all right? Everybody knows that, they feel like their vote doesn't matter anymore. Now, no, vote really matters. Now it says, the vote doesn't matter because it's they're not going to care, the Republicans lost the primary but still won. They say things like that. They'll say it doesn't, our words are not being heard. And that leads to the title of the lesson. America's dirty laundry's out in the street. All the lies and the scandals and the scams and the robbery and the things that they tried to hide are all just out. Everybody knows them now. And really, the world has turned into a fact. Now, I've never watched the movie in its completion, but I've seen bits and pieces of it. And America's really turning out to be more and more and more like the movie Idiocracy. Okay, and I really need to sit down and watch that movie in its completion, and really watch all of it, because I've seen bits and pieces of it. I'm like, this is fucking just like what's going on now. But I really need to sit down and actually watch the whole thing to, get the whole story of what's going down. I know that's like something happened, and this guy was judged as basically being the smartest person ever, and he was just like an average fucking dude. But I don't know too much about it other than that. And all the elected officials were all fucking idiots and morons and shit. And I mean, that's really what we're doing now. I mean, that's a overly exaggerated version, a satire of what's happening. But I mean, it's not too far off, right? It's really not too far off. So, we're gonna get right into this. The main subject of this lesson is this video here. It's a 2 minute and 37 second lesson, and I'm not sure. It says it's from TikTok, Status Coop, or Co-op, all right, or Co-op, or Co-op, all right, or Coop, or however they want to pronounce it, all right. But it's titled "Retired Vet Lays It All Out." All right, what is he laying all out? America's dirty laundry, right? So let's go ahead and watch it. I'll try my best not to interrupt too much, but if a scripture comes to me, then I'm going to interrupt, right? So let's go and see. I'll try not to just incessantly talk, but here you go. Let's play it.
What motivated you to enlist?
Then he was an ex combat veteran, I believe. Well, I can't say combat veteran, but he was an ex-veteran, all right? So he was actually in the military. So here you go.
What motivated you to enlist?
Poverty. I joined the Army because of poverty. The number one recruitment tool of the United States military is to go to highly impoverished areas and offer things that America doesn't offer you, like health care, housing, income, stability. We offer our soldiers socialism to go abroad and defend capitalism. And I was too poor to say no. I was in the Army from 2001 to 2014.
I'll pause there. So they're offering soldiers a chance. They have the world set up so shittily, and they know that they do. They go, hey, man, you'll have job stability. You'll be able to go to – another one I don't think he mentioned is, you'll be able to go to college, okay? You can go to college. We'll pay for your college. We'll pay for your schooling, all right? We'll help you with that. We'll make sure that it's easier for you to get housing, right? So they take everything that they know you can't fucking do, and they'll say, hey, man, you'll be able to make a living if you just come and do this, right? We'll make it to where you can actually, not have to struggle as much, all right? And all you have to do is fight our war for us, all right? Because we're not going to give you a decent living elsewise, right? Unless you were already backed in money, okay? Because you got to spend money to make money. So they set up these little fucking situations, all right, to get you in there. All right, and that's really like a deception. That's really like it's really an evil practice, right? So let's continue.
Served in Iraq and Afghanistan, both theaters. I got out of the military 7 years short of a 20-year career, and that doesn't happen that much. And the reason I did is because the longer I was in the military and the more I saw what America did abroad and what we were really, our true motivations were, it made me realize that America was not on the right path. And I would talk to Iraqis and say, hey, why do you hate America so much? And they would say, you invaded our country, you blew our neighborhoods up. Started realizing, shit, maybe we're the bad guys. So coming back home, getting off the Kool-Aid and realizing what my country really is, which is a place where white supremacy has never been held accountable. White supremacy is the root of this whole thing, and it's never been held.
There you go. White supremacy is the root of this whole thing, right? You never know. This guy could be an Israelite. He could be a Jake, all right? He could just be a one of those more woke Edomites, but this guy probably could be a Jake, all right, because of the amount of sense that he's talking, right? And so it goes to show you that not everybody that just looks like a so-called white person is a white person. That's you'll have a lot of white people that try to what's the correct word? They'll try to reject, all right, white nationalism and white supremacy, but at the same time, if you start talking about it, they'll get all upset, all right? So like I said, you can't really tell too much because, of course, you couldn't, grill this guy and see what he's talking about, really, about white supremacy, but the fact stands that he could be a Jake. You never know.
Accountable. There's never been a time where we corrected the wrongs of white supremacy,
right.
And so
they need it.
We're taught from a young age to put our hand over our heart and declare our allegiance to a flag, but that flag never declares its allegiance back. in a relationship where love is only sent one way, that's toxic. If my own child was in a relationship and they loved their significant other, but their significant other ignored them, wouldn't provide them housing, wouldn't take them to the hospital when they were sick, wouldn't feed them when they were hungry, wouldn't let them in when they were cold, then I would tell my child to get the hell out of this toxic relationship. But yet here in America, we're told to stay in that relationship because that's patriotism. Patriotism is demanding better of your country. And where we're at now is where America was always heading because we chose not to hold white supremacy to account, and because we chose not to provide the most basic needs of a society. And so when this is over, we can't go back to the status quo.
Right. So, there you go, man. It says, as a veteran, this is far more common than people realize. And I've heard, where videos or people in person talking about when they go over there and you find out what you're really getting in Saudi Arabia. Well, not Saudi Arabia, but, those Arabic countries. Gold. Oil. It was a resource war. Okay, it wasn't going over there to take a politician out because of terrorism or anything. It was all set up. All right, just like the 9 and the 2 L's was a setup. All right, so and put 2 and 2 together, 9 and 2 L's. Put that together on a keyboard. All right, so and the 9 and 2 L's, and that was all set up by whether you want to say America or the rally with the I on top of it with the S. All right, those who wear the very small hats. I mean, it was really inter America, but you could say that was a foreign government that had something to do with it. But it was really just the 4819s. All right, again, 19, and then put those other 2 behind it and figure out what happened in that year, and then you'll be able to, talking in code. You got to do it. Regardless of where you say it was their government or, them that were citizens over here, is to the Rayleigh Americans, all right, however you want to call them, whatever you want to call them, but they're really the ones that set up the groundwork for really not even just the groundwork and all the fundamentals of what happened with the 9 and 2 L's, right, with the owner, all right, the whole situation stunk, and that after that situation, they had that's a whole can of worms, man. Because when you go into that, you find out about how the only insurance that was gathered was for complete destruction, and complete destruction happened. All right, and then on top of that, you got to look in the deal that Larry had made with the one of the families, one of the 13 families. All right, who are the elites. All right, and how they made that deal, and how he always ate up at that restaurant, but he wasn't there that day out of all the other days, never missed a day. And then you go on to find out that after that whole venture, it was used to launch the Patriot Act, all right, for a whole bunch of surveillance that would happen. All right, and that's why security systems everywhere, and all of these integrated security cameras that you see everywhere. That wasn't prior to 2001. Okay, the 9 and 2 L's, those weren't there, all right, because there was rights, all right, but they said, we need more surveillance, not to spy on our citizens, but we need more surveillance to make sure these goddamn terrorists, all right, replace the G with a T, these goddamn terrorists aren't coming over here and doing anything when they didn't come over and do anything. It wasn't them that did it, all right, it was put on them, all right, but it was really the Americans, all right, the person that's over the American citizens, the people that control the American government, all right, that did it and used that as means to go and launch a war because they wanted to launch the war so they could go over there and get the gold and the oil because they weren't getting it, right? It's all a fucking bunch of lies, which leads us into Nahum 3:1, which reads, "Woe to the bloody city." And the bloody city is one of the many names that's used to refer to this place that, people call America. You have the bloody city, the North Country, all right, America, well, not America, America's not in the Bible, but the bloody city, Slovakia, the bloody city, the North Country, the great city, what else, Babylon, spiritual Egypt, spiritual Sodom, right? There's many different names for the place that we call America today. All right, America, you're not going to see America in the Bible, but you'll see a lot of references to the North Country, a nation, as swift as the eagle flieth, right? A lot of different hints and a lot of different things like that. And but a lot of people, refuse to admit it. But when you look into Babylonian customs and you look into, repeats of how basically America is just a reformulation of Rome, and you look how Rome was ran, right? And you look what happened. It's undeniable. All right, the only people that can deny it is if you want to have a what's the word to call it? If you want to purposely try to save face by obscuring fact, okay, and you want to say, oh, there's no similarities, all right, and that's not what the Bible's talking about. Anybody can say that. You can say the sky is blue, and I can say, no, it's not. That's wrong. You're misinformed. I know you think that the sky is blue, but here's why you really think it's blue. The sky's not really blue. It's because the ocean is blue, and it's reflecting that. Yeah, we know that, all right? But the sky at the end of the day is blue, okay? But you can try to go and try to use all this information. Say, oh, no, well, the reason why it's like this is it's not because of this. It's not because of Israel. It's because... No, man. You can try to cover up and whatever, but the fact of the matter is you can say that grass, isn't green, but it's not going to stop it from being the fact of the matter. And you can lie and try to dye the grass and try to put red dye in it and say, see, the grass is red. It's always been red. And what are you talking about? But the fact of the matter stays that grass is green. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you can't perceive that it's green, if you want to lie and say that it's not green, if you want to not look at it and pretend that you don't know what it looks like, it's still going to be green, regardless if you're, the train is still going to move whether you're boarding or not. Okay, and you can try to filibuster and stonewall and set up a big blockade and turn your eyes to the fact, but the fact of the matter is that this society that we're living in is Babylon, all right? It is mentioned in the Bible, and it is going to be destroyed by Yahweh Shem Yahushai, all right? When, Yahweh sends his son back, all right? Yahushai to destroy this place, okay? With his chariots and the angels. That's what's going to happen. You can't deny it, and that's what's going to happen to this place. And it's a direct warning right here, Nahum 3:1, woe to the bloody city. And why is it called the bloody city? Because much blood has been spilled in this place, right? It's full of lies and robbery, and the prey departeth not. So the prey, who's the primary prey? Okay, who's this country founded on the backs of? All right, black and brown, so-called black and brown, right? So-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the Israelites. Okay, but they want to stay. All right, our people, and I say they and not us because they are not us. They are our people. All right, they are the same. They look the same as us. They act not in the same in certain ways, but they're not us because we're in this truth and they're not. Okay, and they're acting. They're prey and they don't want to depart. We want to depart. They don't. They want to stay around with the black and milds, getting wild, the gold chains, money and things, Percocets, Molly Percocets. Right, that's what they want to stay around in, and they're prey and they're going to be devoured because of that. Right? And it directly says right here that this place is full of lies and robbery. They lie to you and they rob you. They rob you and then they lie about robbing you. We didn't take anything from you. That's a lie. All right? And people want to stay here. They love this place. It's the greatest country. Okay? It's the greatest country ever to exist. No, it's not. No, it's not. The food's poison. The air is poison. The politics are poison. Everything you know is poison. And you don't want to depart from it because you love it so. Right? And there's plenty of information out there. There was a video called the Economic Hitman. All right, and I'm not gonna necessarily play it because I played it a whole bunch, but I can go to my saved clips or my videos, not my videos, but my saved. How do I go there? Playlist probably saved videos. Yeah, it's this one right here, right at the. I'll let it play. It's 2 minutes long. I'll let it play, and I let it play. I've played this several times in the Apostles of Great Millstone, who I'm not a part of Great Millstone, but I'd be considered affiliate by the way I teach. Like I said, I don't like giving myself the title of affiliate because that's something I have to. I feel like I'd have to earn that, but it's something that by definition I would be considered an affiliate. I'm not a part of GMS, but that's who I learn from. I recommend you do the same, or you can go and learn from one of the other camps and not be able to understand shit. So yeah, decision's up to you. Really, it's up to you how about Shemiao Shai. But if you don't want to learn nothing, stay away from GMS. If you want to learn something, stay with GMS. All right, there's plenty of camps where you can go and learn nothing. All right, I'd recommend IUIC if you're trying not to learn shit. Right? Really, there's worse ones than IUIC. But I recommend if you actually want to learn, you actually want to be studious, all right, and you want to be an intellectual, stay with GMS. They won't do you wrong, all right, through Yahweh Shem Yahushai, all right? Or you can go to the ones with the theatrics, and you won't get, if you go to GMS, you're not going to get fancy outfits, all right? You're not going to get big get-togethers, or they're not going to have a congregation in a church where you can go and sit down in there and bring your wife and kids. All right, they're not going to sell you any colognes or soaps. So if that's the type of stuff that you're into, IUIC is probably better off if you're looking for theatrics and not truth. All right, because GMS deals with truth. If you want that, stay with them. So this is how I found out about this lesson. Was I can't remember who it was. More than likely one of the apostles, either Apostle Gabar or Apostle Apostle Dahar, Apostle Gabar. I can't remember. It was one of them, I believe, that the first time I saw it, it brought it out. I can't remember. It might have. I really don't remember. It's been such a long time now. But I'm gonna go ahead and play this video for you. And this is how America works. And mind you, a couple years ago, this information would have never came out. But now that America's dirty laundry is out in the street, this is the type of information that's known. Back in the day, this type of information would have never gone out. No one would have ever thought about talking about America like this, right? But this is the fact of the matter now, and everybody knows. So here you go.
We Economic Hitmen have managed to create the world's first truly global empire, and it's basically a secret empire. We do it many ways, but principally, we identify a country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank or one of its sisters. The money never actually goes to the country. It goes to our own corporations to build big infrastructure projects in that country that help a few very wealthy people, but don't benefit the majority of the people who are too poor to buy electricity or have cars to drive on the highways, and yet they're left holding a huge debt that they can't repay. So we go back at some point and say, you can't pay your debts. Give us a pound of flesh, sell your oil real cheap to our oil companies, vote with us on the next critical UN vote, allow us to build a military base in your backyard, something along these lines. And when we fail, the jackals go in and either overthrow or assassinate these leaders.
Yep.
And if the jackals fail, as they did in...
Oh, so you're not gonna fucking, you're not gonna give us your shit? We said give us your shit. You don't realize this is a robbery. All right, give us your fucking shit. You're not going to? Cool, we're gonna assassinate you. If that don't work, then what's gonna happen? We're gonna send our goons after you. That's fucking America for you, man. A bunch of thugs.
In Iraq, then we send in the military. I don't think the failure is capitalism. I think it's a specific kind of capitalism that we've developed. We've created what I consider a mutant, viral form of capitalism.
And America is at its core capitalism, but it's really a capitalistic, fascist oligarchy. All right, and it is really what it is. All right, a techno-oligarchical capitalistic fascist state. All right, and I say techno because it's built highly technological off of keeping everybody ingrained into the internet. All right, and away from modern society. And not that the internet's bad. I love the internet. I'd consider myself a techie or a geek, if you will. All right, I'm into I like video games. I like messing around with shit on the internet. I like all sorts of stuff. But like I mentioned yesterday, I really stay with retro tech. I like the old computers from the 80s. I like, Windows XP and stuff. It's not too retro. I grew up with it. I wouldn't consider it. I mean, it's retro now, but it's and the reason is because, I still have a gaming computer and I'm on the computer constantly, but the fact of the matter is that, it's a digital world and there's nothing we can really change about it anymore. But the society was better when we had technology. But it's progressed to a point where it's gotten too far, okay? It's gotten to a part where, basically I found out a couple days ago I'm what they would call a neo-Luddite, okay? Basically someone who rejects his modern technological advances. And I believe there's a point where really technological advances should have kind of stopped as with certain things, Sure, you can continue on with medical advances and stuff like that. Esau's medical is horrible anyway, but when it comes to entertainment using electronics, it should really have capped out at a certain rate. And the way I'll say that is, the internet. If you look back in the 2000s, we'd go on the internet, fuck around with our MySpace, and we'd get off of it. All right, and we'd go and talk to our friends. We'd message them on MySpace or something, or call them on the phone, And back then, unless you had an unlimited service, you had minutes. You couldn't be you couldn't always, or back in the early days, you'd have a certain amount of minutes or to text or call off of. So you couldn't be on the phone too long, mobile phone. And for texts, you had to keep them short, which created shorthand, TTYL, instead of talk to you later. Or, be there soon, BTS, or, OMW, or OWY, or OMW, on my way, right? Or ILY for I love you, right? So different things, or like C, the actual letter C, and then U, and then L, and then an 8, and then R for see you later, right? So we used all those things, right? Because we were on the phones very shortly. All right, a quick message. All right, TTYL. All right, ILY, TTYL. All right, it's like, all right, I love you. Talk to you later. Or we'd be on the phone and say, hey, I'm down at the Blockbuster. Can you come pick me up, Mom? Bye. Click, and that would be it. And that was it. Or if you had to make a quick phone call, you'd have a quarter in your pocket. You'd go up to a phone, a payphone, all right, and you'd say, hey, or you could actually just try to call collect and just be like, hey, Mom, I'm down at the mall, please pick me up, click, and then they'd know where to get you, right? You do certain, I never had to do anything like that, but I've heard that's what other people had to do. And and then, if you ever had long phone calls, you couldn't do it out and about. You couldn't be contacted out and about. If someone's blowing you up and say, hey, man, you're wasting all my fucking minutes, stop talking to me so much, man. You're wasting my minutes. I can't keep on responding to you. But it got to the point where in the internet you could message someone and say, hey, I'll meet you down at the mall later tonight. All right, we'll hang out. You can hit me on my cell and let me know when you're there, and just say here, right? So you're not using as many messages. Here, food court. Or they're like, okay, shit, you'd go there. Now, or someone would leave you a voicemail on your phone, and you might not, if you were on vacation. You didn't have a cell phone. You might get it back if you're on a vacation, Disneyland or somewhere else. You might not get back to that phone till a week. You might have 3 or 4. You'd have to rewind the tape and listen to all of your voicemails played back. Now everything's become so, in YouTube, you'd click on YouTube, watch some videos, and now everything is like short form content. You got YouTube Shorts, you got Instagram Reels, you got social media that's beyond just reaching out to people. Everyone's on there, and posting photos, Instagram clout, and then you got online dating. And then you always have a phone. You're always online. If your boss texts you, you better text back. He knows you're on your phone right now. You better text back. You're going to lose your job. All right? And the women that you're dating, they want you to respond in like fucking, you need to respond for me in 5 minutes. Here it was, you were taking a shit, but someone thinks, oh, you're ignoring them because you couldn't take 5 minutes out of your life to be disconnected from technology because it's so ingrained. Okay? And that has caused society some severe detriment. All right? Everybody, the always online mindset is detrimental, okay? And you say, oh, what about the truth? The truth has been going, on the internet since you could be uploading to the internet with the like when YouTube really came out with the big video contents. That was 2006, all right? Late 2005, 2006. I think it was 2006 when it first came out, right? And that's back then. The internet wasn't always. You weren't always plugged in, right? I remember I was on the internet in 06, all right, in 07. Those were still fundamental great years, all right. Remember Neopets and fucking Dragon Fable, all right, and a bunch of other stuff. And the early internet days, right? And mid-internet days, not early, but yeah, man, and we'd get off that. We'd go and play. I remember I'd be on the internet a little bit. I'd get off of that. I'd play a little bit of a video game with a friend over. And now the thing is that now you can't. Half of the games you can't hook 2 controllers up to anymore. You got to play with someone else that has their own system over the internet, right? Back in the day, I still have my old systems. I still have an Xbox 360, a PlayStation 3, and a PlayStation 2. Hooked up in my living area, and with two controllers. Me and my wife, or that's mainly who I hang out with. I don't hang out with anybody else. Can or family or whatever, they ever come over, we're gonna have it hooked up and throw on Madden 08 or one of the other games or a racing game or something. We can play it right then and there with each other. Even the gaming was more social back then because you'd have to have somebody in person with you to do it. You couldn't play over the internet. right? That started with the Xbox 360, but not everybody did that. A lot of the games were still made to where you could play, split screen. They still had split screen modes, even in Xbox 360 days. So everything has become so online, and now once they've done that, right, the excellent thing, like the apostle said today, you got to admit that Esau is smart when it comes to wickedness. All right, it talks about the serpent and his. There was no other more subtle beast of the field. Let me see. Let's go and get it. It says right here, Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord Yahweh had made, and he said unto the woman, Yea, hath Yahweh said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. Right? He was more subtle than any beast of the field. And the serpent, Esau. All right, that's the same spirit that Esau has, and they've got it to where, technological event, look, more powerful video game systems. And now look, if your friend can't make it over, guess what? You can play with them over a distance. Oh, guess what? You want to be on the internet, but can't. Guess what? Now there's unlimited data caps. So now you don't have to worry about minutes. You can talk on it as much as you want if you want to talk for hours or be on the phone. And guess what? Now we're adding new things called apps. All right, because when the first iPhone came out, there was built-in apps. All right, you couldn't download any. And then after that, with the iPhone, they called it the 3GS. All right, that's when I believe when you start downloading apps, and you started apps. You could download games on your phone. You could download apps on your phone. They started pushing out, social media. All right, with Instagram and not TikTok, but Instagram, Snapchat was one of them. Kick was big back in the day. All these different social media, and they really weaned us onto that with things like AOL and IMVU and like these online chat rooms, and they made them bigger and bigger and bigger. And then at first they were fun. You'd come home off of work or at school, you get off of school, you'd click on, you've got mail. You go and you check it, and then you'd go about, spending time with friends. You'd invite your friends over, family. You'd order some pizza. You'd sit in front of the TV. You'd go out. Think about the day, and I'm rambling now, but I'm really showing you how they've really fucked the society up, and they've got inside of people's brains. Back in the day, everything was an event, right? Everything was an event. You'd have to, a quick call. Hey, what's up, Larry? You want to come over and hang out on Friday night? Mom said she's going to buy pizza. Yeah, dude, I'll be over. Let me ask my mom. And then, you'd have to talk, and then they'd come over, and then you'd play video games or do something together. And then you'd have to go out to Blockbuster and actually physically go out together and go into society and look at stuff together to get a movie. Then you'd have to go out and get the pizza or order it, and then you do all that together. Now, you just watch the movie online. All right, you stay inside, you order the food through DoorDash. You don't even have your friend over because you can just have them on FaceTime or, back in the day, Skype and all this. And now people are disconnected, and they're always connected to the internet. And now you can push people ads. Now you can push people, theories. And now you can push people, the government's, doing this good stuff. They're doing this. But Esau didn't realize it would backfire on them. And that's why one of the those elite people said, the internet was one of the, the worst things that we ever invented. And that's because now they didn't realize they could lock all these people into this thought. But now look what we're finding out all throughout the internet. All right, and that's all through Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, we're finding out how corrupt the government is through sites like YouTube and TikTok. We're finding out things that they're trying to hide, things that they're trying, the lies that they've lied about. We're, now we have, the apostles talk about back in the day, if you wanted to find information, you had to go down to the libraries, and sometimes you'd have to wait, and there were certain things that they wouldn't give you, right? The apostles, I believe it was Apostle Gabar, talked about, I can't remember the name of the book, all right, but there was a book that they were trying to get, and they didn't want to give it to him, but I guess the Apostle Tahar, I believe it was the Apostle Tahar, actually ended up getting access to the book, but they didn't want to give them the access to the book because they were so-called black men, right? And that's not something that they really wanted them to have, right? So they've gotten us into this point where they lie, and it's all technological fascist oligarchy, where it's oppression of the people and uplifting of the mega rich, the mega wealthy, and wars to keep getting and gathering more and more and more and more and more and more wealth. And it's a lie. Going back to Nahum 3:1, Nahum 3:1. I gotta read it again. Woe to the bloody city is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. And another scripture. It's fundamental, and the internet also helps with tracking this devil, because you can get now we can go and, we can read Micah 2 and 2. Let's go and start from 1. Micah 2 and 1 through 2. And we can now, with the internet, go and show you just on the internet in a matter of a couple clicks, all right, all the raiding and the colonization that's been done by these devils, right? So Micah 2 and 1, it says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage." Okay, so they take away a man's house, they take away a man's heritage. All right, they take everything away. It's all oppression, it's all lies, it's all robbery, right? And it's to the point now where Esau's, America's dirty laundry is out in the street, and everybody's really, they know, right? They know, they understand what's going on now. And that's all through Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And a big help, through the Lord is the unicorn, all right, the internet. Because the internet has access to so much information. If we're trying to prove something now, we don't have to go and say, "Oh, well, wait, I'm going to get that for you, but I have to go and run and get a book." All right, or, I have to rely on having money to be able to buy a copy of that book. All right, or some of those books being very expensive, you might not even to buy. So you'd have to go and, get the book and have to take notes on the book. And then how do you know someone's going to believe you when you're showing them handwritten notes? They say, "Oh, you could have changed something. You need to go and get the physical book." Well, you can't argue when I go and pull up the Wikipedia page and show you exactly what fucking happened, right? You can't argue about that. That's just fact, okay? And you can't argue with fact. But, they try to have all those lies. They try to tell you about all those things. But a lie is but for a moment. Well, we got to get this. This is the Lord, right here having this pop up. Job 13 and 4. "But ye are forgers of lies, you're all physicians of no value." I didn't even have that in my original thing, but that's Esau, right? They're physicians of no value, so they can't heal you worth a shit. All right. I can't remember exactly how the apostle was wording it, but it was Apostle Gabar, I believe, in the last live I ended up watching from him is the one on. I'll go and tell you right now. It's actually still up on my page. It's the 2 days ago. It's the GMS Apostle Street Ministry Live on September 27th of 2025. So, and he was saying, it's a miracle. They call it a miracle drug because it's a miracle if it works. And what was the other one he said? It's they say it's man, I wish I would have remembered. Let me go see if I can find it through the transcript. An hour and 47. Well, give me a minute. I want to see if I can find it, and Lord willing, I can. I mean, a lot of stuff to scroll. Let's see. Bear with me. I'm scrolling through it. Let's see. Yeah, because they got on a little roll here, which I loved, talking about health and things that you need in lies. They were talking about how speaking of lies, they were talking about how Esau, tried to put out the whole idea, that cholesterol is bad. You shouldn't have cholesterol. And the Apostle Gabar, before that, I mentioned, that one of the biggest lies they ever did was, this low-fat shit. And it's true. You're supposed to have full fat. Fats are very good for you. All right, if you ever get yogurts, like Greek yogurt is what you should be eating, not just regular yogurt, but Greek yogurt, sugar-free Greek yogurt. You got to make sure it's full fat. All right, because fats are very good for you. They're very good for you, very good for your heart. They try to say it's bad. Another thing in the Apostle Gabar went on to mention, the whole. I don't believe it was. It was actually. What's his title? Is it Bishop Shakaran? And he said one of the other lies was the whole cholesterol. All right, about cholesterol. They say, cholesterol is bad for you, but they found out that one of the things that dementia patients suffer from is low cholesterol. So cholesterol is good for your brain. So actually, now that I know that, I need to, if I've been having, issues where I forget, it's probably because I'm having lower cholesterol. I probably need to check in, and he also said that one of the things they always found with Jake was Jake has higher cholesterol. So I don't want to, have you don't want to have it too high or too low, but I want to make sure that, I can find some good stuff that I can make sure I'm getting my cholesterol in from. But let me go and see. Let's see. Radiation. You know, they talked about how cancer is really just a parasite, you know, inflammation. This is where they started getting on the roll. Let's see. Let's see. Let me see. Yeah, that's really. If you don't watch any else of that live, I recommend you start at like about 1 hour and 15 minutes in, and just listen from there. If you you know have to miss any of the rest, I would recommend watching that part. And let me see. I'm trying to find what he said. Let's see. Here it is, I think. Let me find it. Yeah, we're real close to it now. Let me see. Prince Philip talking about how he wanted to come back as a virus. Yeah, we were right around here. GMO foods. Yeah, I'll just start it from here. You know what? Matter of fact, I'll go and pull it up. That's not the one. Oh. So, it's this one. This is the one I'd recommend. And it's an hour.
These Christians are watching our videos and they.
Is butter short for butyrate?
Yeah, our bodies need that butter.
6:30.
Okay.
It says AI Overview says no, butter is not short for, but they put buttering. They put it. I know what you're trying to. The word butter is not short for butyrene. The two words are unrelated. It says butter comes from the Greek word butyron, which literally means cow cheese. Bous or B-O-U-S equals ox, cow plus turos equals cheese.
You know what? Just put in what does butyrene mean.
Oh, here we go.
Butyrate.
Butyrate.
I'm sorry, butyrate. I'm sorry.
Right.
Butyrate.
Yeah, it says a similar sounding term, butyrate.
You know, I got it from Dr. Gundy. Dr. Gundy? He said butter comes from the word butyrate. I said butyrate. Check that out. Go ahead.
It says butyrate. It's a short chain fatty acid found in butter.
That's what I've heard that term before. Short chain fatty acid. That's very nutritious to the body.
And you got a thing called medium chain triglyceride. Triglycerides is a fancy way of saying fat. Coconut oil is called an MCT oil.
Oh, you know, there's this one guy, he came out, he said one of the biggest scams that Esau put out there is low fat. Low fat. One of the biggest scams, because your body needs fat.
Right. Like your brain.
I guess it was a popsicle bar that said it. But yeah, so you need that. And, you know, I watched this whole segment, but the segment I found it was at 1:45 is when he mentions it. So check this out. It's true. It's
That's why we say keep everything in code.
Job 13:4.
You ain't raising up Jake. You ain't trying to Edomite. That's different. That's right. You gotta raise up Jake. You gotta keep it. You gotta keep it. Keep it code.
when they claimed the thing, right? They came up with two drugs. The AMA at the beginning. There was two drugs they came up with. The wonder drug and the miracle drug. The wonder drug was, if you took it, they wonder what would happen to you. The miracle drug was if you took it and you got healed, that was a miracle. You can't, hey, well, that's why the scripture said that.
It's true, man. You know, if you took it, they wonder what would it do to you. Now, it was a miracle if it actually worked, because they're physicians of no value. All right, and the other thing it calls them, Job 13:4, like it says, but ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value. So forgers of lies. Forger is to be a maker. If I was a forger of steel, I would be one who worked with steel and made things out of steel. If I'm a forger of lies, that means I manufacture and make lies. Okay, I would be manufacturer and forger of lies. All right, well, that's the Edomites. That's what they do, right? And we're starting to see people, you know, outrage. All right, and isn't that a scripture too? The people outrage. It's talking about why did the heathen rage? But yeah, you know, and that's all I'm going to show of the economic hitman. You can go and watch the rest of it if you want. But that's what they do, man. They go out there and they do those things. But that's why we're having so many uproars of the people, is because, you know, we're in the end days. All right, come on now. We're in the end days. There didn't used to be uproars. There used to be rejoicing the people. I love America. God bless my country. Right? Not anymore. 2nd Esdras 9:3. And you have the Edomites, you know, these maggots. All right, MAGA with a TS, all right, MAGA, all right, with a TS, maggots, all right, that are so fucking, well, we gotta make America great again. You're not gonna make this place great again, all right? You fuck that one up when you start letting, you know, men get married to each other and women start marching through the damn streets with feminism and, you know, men with men, you know, waving dildos around as a fucking flag. When that started happening, you know, there's no way you're changing that shit back. Now you have that idea, you tried to destroy, see, you fucked your own shit up. Right? Because you thought, you know, you wanted to, have people destroyed, but you didn't realize it would destroy your whole society. So now you're all like, oh, goddamn, I'm pissed. I don't want this to happen. Well, you did it. All right? Your overlords did it. So complain to them. Right? So 2nd Esdras 9:3, it says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then what? Then what? Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Now here's the part you're not going to like. It says, as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like I said, that dumb man, you know, hey man, the end ain't gonna happen like that. What do you mean by the end? The end of the world, all right? I'm not talking about it cracking in half, you dumbass fucking dull-headed ass fucking dullard. All right, you fucking white-haired, old-ass Jake that don't know shit that's going on. You don't know nothing, man. Stuck up on that Islam shit. All right, you be calling out, Allah, Allah, and he ain't going to help your ass, man. He ain't going to help your black ass sitting there crying because you want to be from the fucking Nation of Islam. They ain't going to help you, man. That ain't going to help you. All right, you need Yahweh Shem Shai, okay? You're over here, that Nation of Islam, that shit's a bunch of bullshit, man. You're over here thinking that the son, he wasn't nothing, right? He was just a regular guy, but instead, you know, Muhammad was a prophet. Man, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, man. You have no idea, okay? You have no idea, all right? And you're following people that all they do is just kill people, man. That's all they fucking do, all right? You know, you're following a group that is let off out of a group that likes, you know, that likes to war. All right, so you know that's not a good look, okay? But we can tell we're at the end of this just by, you know, looking around. These people can't, but we can. All right. So Luke 21:25 says, "And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring." Okay, distress of nations. All right, people are all upset. You know, you got, you know, all these. You got the nation of America. They're all upset with a bunch of infighting. All right, you got Russia's got a bunch of infighting. People that agree with Putin, people that don't agree with Putin. All right, rootin' tootin' Putin. All right, they got same thing with Ukraine. You know, they're all just, everyone's just fucked up and they're freaking out, man. They're all just freaking out, and that's, you know, what happened before, you know, the fall of Rome. All right. if you had to list 10 things, all right, check this. If you had, come on now, if you had to list 10 things that started happening before the fall of Rome, what would they be? Like signs of the end. It says, great question. The fall of Rome wasn't sudden. It was a long, complex process with many warning signs. Here are 10 major things that started happening before the fall of the Western Roman Empire, often seen as the signs of its decline. Check this out. Political instability and civil wars, frequent assassinations, short-lived emperors, and constant power struggles. All right, instability and civil wars. Civil war, infighting, red against blue, right, we're having now. Right, economic trouble and heavy taxes, like we're seeing now, inflation, devalued currency, and rising taxes to fund the military and bureaucracy. Farmers and middle-class citizens struggled under the burden. Over-reliance on mercenaries. The Rome began hiring non-Roman soldiers to fill its armies. You know, we don't know what's really going down with American. We know there's it's not relying on mercenaries, but it's now hiring transgenders. All right, decline of civil pride and Roman identity. Citizens were less willing to serve in the military or the government, like is happening now. Many people identified with local tribal groups than Rome itself, as they're doing now. Corruption and bureaucratic decay. Government officials became more self-serving, exploiting their positions. Justice and efficiency declined, as what's happening now. Plagues and population decline. Epidemics like the plague of Cyprian, 3rd century, and the plague of Justinian reduced the population. Fewer people meant fewer soldiers, taxpayers, and workers. Well, we're seeing it in a different light. You know, people aren't having kids as much. All right, Trump wanted to fund people to have babies. All right, so there could be another baby boom. Urban decay and infrastructure neglect. Roads, aqueducts, public buildings fell into disrepair, as is happening now. I mean, you can look at it, and businesses are shutting down, going out. Cities shrank or were abandoned, especially in the West. We have places like that happening now. Flint, Michigan. All right, Detroit, they're trying to rebuild it up. All right, split of the empire, the East and the West. Barbaric invasions, loss in military dominance. So, would you compare what's happening in America now to this? And how close is it? And it says, that's a powerful and important question, one that historians, political thinkers, and regular citizens have asked for decades. While it's not an exact one-to-one comparison, there are some parallels between the decline of Rome and certain trends in modern America. Here's a side-by-side look at some of those comparisons. So, political instability and gridlock. All right, and then so I'm going to read the Roman one, and then I'm going to read the American one. It says increasing polarization, government shutdowns, erosion of trust in democratic institutions. Okay, back to Rome. Economic strain and inequality. America, rising income inequality, national debt, inflation, housing crisis, and shrinking middle class. Back to Rome. Over-reliance on foreign laborers and troops. Back to America. Outsourcing manufacturing, reliance on immigrant labor, stretched military commitments abroad. Number 4, Rome, loss of national unity. America, cultural fragmentation, tribal politics, and weakening sense of shared national identity. So we don't have to keep on reading more and more and more. I mean, it's just evidently clear, man, that this place is going to go through, it's Rome again. We're in Rome again, and it's going to fall like Rome did, okay? And there's signs, okay? There's signs about it, all right? But these people can't tell, like the scripture says. It says, when the sky, here it is. This is Matthew 16:2, and the Sadducees were asking, Yahushua for a sign, and Yahushua answered, and it says, he answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning it will be foul weather the day, for the sky is red and lowering. Right, so you can tell when it's outside and you see the big storm clouds, you can say, oh shit, it's going to rain. But when you see all these things going on now, no one say, oh, it's the end of the world. We're in the end days, all right? The Lord gave us these. No, they don't say that. They say, oh, no, we're fine, right? The Lord goes on to say, he says, oh, ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times? He said, "A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas." Then what did he do? It says, "And he left them and departed." So, yeah, man, America's dirty laundry's out in the street. You know, between all the technological advances that we've had, between, you know, the always online, you know, it had bad and good things come of it. You know, really, always online has been fucking awful. It's made things worse, but it's got to get worse before it gets better. And it's also helped always online. People are always online now and are always controlled and brainwashed by Esau. But guess what? Now that they're always online, they can click on a page that's saying, "Oh, what is this?" Talking about the truth about America. Oh, what is this? What is this? The Apostles of Great Millstone. What is this? I'm going to click on this video. Oh, shit. What is this? I like this. Oh, my God. Everything has been a lie. Right? So they've had it to be where it completely has you know, Esau is you know, stuck a fucking knife in their own ass. Right? They've thrown tacks on their own seat. Right? They've sat on their own whoopee cushion. All right? They pranked themselves. They played themselves. All right? All through Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right? And it's fantastic. America's dirty laundry's out in the street. Everyone's seeing it and sniffing it. And of course, you're always going to have the stupid, all right, who of course, you know, Trump, the president of the United States, has really he's a smart guy. Don't you say, "Oh, Trump's an idiot." No, he's not. Trump's a very intelligent, intellectual being. All right, and you say that he's not because he's smart, man. He gives off a persona of being stupid, but really he's created a cult of personality for himself, and he's pandered to the dumbest of people. You know, the people that are you know, in their 70s and 80s and 90s, they're going through, you know, intellectual decay, brain decay, because when you get that age, you know, you start to see an intellectual decline unless you're, you know, using your brain to a higher capacity, right? And you know, you got to stay educated when you're at that age, and you got to stay active and stay fit, or else you're going to go through, you know, a brain decay. You know, you can go look, what is the term? What is the term when old people start having brain decay? What is it called? It's called cognitive decline. That's what it is. Cognitive decline. All right. And it's a general slowing or loss of mental function like memory, attention, reasoning. All right. They lose reasoning. They can't understand why they're doing things, or, you know, if something's good or bad. Right? So he's pandered to those people, all right, and he himself is he's an intellectual, but he himself is going through some of those signs as well, so I can bear with me. But he's pandered to those people that are going through that cognitive decline, okay? And if you don't use your brain, you will lose it. If you don't use it, you'll lose it, all right? As you know, as we get older, even in your 30s and 40s, you already start seeing signs of cognitive decline. You're not as quick-witted, all right? Sometimes, you know, you get more forgetful. I even know me, you know, being, you know, close to 30, you know, being more forgetful than I was when I was a teenager, all right? And that only gets, you know, more and more and more and more and more. So you gotta continue to, you know, stay up on, you know, gotta get some cholesterol, right? So and stay on some, you know, stay in good health of your body, and I got to get better with that. I can't be a hypocrite and say that I am doing it, because, you know, I'm doing good with my diet. Is you know, is you know, I'm doing good with that. I mean, I cheat every once in a while, but I try not to. But it's usually if I'm at work or something, and you know, there's nothing healthy I can put together. I prefer to put together something at home, because everything you get out is just dog shit 9 times out of 10. But there's okay things, you know, that, like I said, you know, I'll probably go out and get Chipotle because Sabbath ended, but Chipotle is not the best. But there's options you can do to make it better, right? Better, but it's still poison, all right? So it's better to just be able to cook at home all the time, but sometimes we can't. But yeah, man, so he's pandered to the cognitive decline citizens, and, you know, lied to them, and we can make it just like, remember when you were a kid? Yeah, I remember. Remember how good it was? Remember how you could play baseball out in your front yard and, you know, it was safe? Yes, I remember. All right, we can make it just like that. Can you? Yeah, we'll make it just like that. All right, just vote for me. Okay, no, Trump's going to help us. Can't you see that the rent's been raised? No, it hasn't. Can't you see that, you know, groceries are at an all-time high? You're lying. All right, no, you're old. And, put you in a home. All right, because you don't understand. If you don't understand that why the prices are raising, you don't understand why the housing market's going up. You don't understand that the cars have gone. You don't understand what's going on in society. You have no idea what's going on with the news. They just tell you what to believe, and you believe it. All right, and that's a sign that you're done, man. And that's who he panders to. He panders to those people because he's smart and he knows that a lot of the population is geriatric, all right? And if you can get that population for your vote, and they don't have anything, they're not too busy to go and line up at the polls. They can sit in the polls for 4 or 5 hours. They're retired. They don't have nothing to do. They'll go there, and you can tell them that the immigrants are going to take their everything away from them, and then you can get these dumbasses to sign away their own rights. All right, you literally had these old people go and vote against health care and Social Security. All right, and now some of these people are losing their Social Security and their health insurance. Why? Because they voted for it. All right, because Trump told them to. Right, and they didn't even know. They're voting for things that are actively harming them. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. All right, and America's on its way out, and we can't wait. Call all Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. It comes quick. Babu Kasha, Babu Kasha, Babu Kasha. That's where we're going to close out with the lesson. Lord will was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, glory to the Most High. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I want to say shalom to your brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing, shalom.